So I have had 1 year with the Oculus Quest 2. I have had it since the day it came out, and I would just kind of like to talk about my year's experience with the Oculus Quest 2. You can always check out my original Oculus Quest 2 review, which I will link here. A lot of what I said still holds true, but obviously a year's gone by, and I want to kind of update some of my thoughts and talk about some of the enhancements that have come along the way. Basically talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So starting with the good, the software enhancements that have come from the first year of the Quest 2 are simply amazing. I mean, stuff that... The Oculus Quest 2 is already an amazing headset in terms of specs on paper to begin with, and it's only gotten better. I mean, things like 120 hertz mode and AirLink really elevate this headset to a whole new level. It is absolutely insane that you are getting like top tier, I mean, basically index quality in terms of refresh rate and wireless VR. With assuming you have the right wireless connection, it's unbelievable that you're getting this for the price tag, and that it is it is compromised compared to the Index. Obviously, it is damn close, and it is super good. And these software enhancements keep coming. Carmack talked in the Oculus Connect about things like 120 Hz mode maybe being in the pipeline, and the fact that they're here is honestly a dream come true. It just, your Quest keeps getting better over time. It really is that simple, and yeah, I mean, that's honestly the best part so far about the Oculus Quest 2 experience, is that there seems to be no slowing down in terms of software enhancements, and this headset seems to have quite a long lifespan ahead of it. Next up is that the hardware is still the best in the business by far for the money. You are not going to find a competitive VR headset for this price. This is a PC VR headset, assuming you want to use the Oculus Link or the Oculus Air Link, which is free. I mean, the Air Link is literally free, and the Oculus Link is very good now with a lot of different USB-C cables. You can really use a lot of different cables and get a lot out of Oculus Link. So it is a PC VR headset. It is also a dedicated VR headset, of which there are not a lot, with extremely good tracking, no setup required, no base stations, and it really is, it's the best of both worlds. It really walks a fine line between giving you as much quality as you can get in terms of visuals, 120 hertz, super high resolution panel, while minimizing the amount of setup you would have to do. Like the tracking is all done inside out as opposed to setting up base stations. It really is the best of both worlds in terms of cheap, affordable VR and high-end, high-quality experiences with VR. That is the good for the Oculus Quest 2. That was true a year ago, and that is still true. This is the headset to get, with the exception of the ugly, which we'll talk about later. But let's talk about the bad. First thing I want to talk about with bad is software. And I still have hope, but I'm starting to lose that hope. The software lineup on the Quest 2, specifically exclusives from Facebook. There are plenty of games that are coming through the Oculus Quest 2 pipeline, and honestly, some pretty impressive games. I mean, you can check out my Blair Witch review for the Oculus Quest 2. We have things like Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. We have a decent number of actual games, ports from PC VR titles that hold up honestly pretty well, imports from just straight PC titles that they can be quite impressive. However, the pipeline from Oculus released exclusives is a little weak, and it seems like the amount of funding they are doing for studios to get more games out is pretty weak. And I am just personally seeing myself play the same games that I was playing on my Quest 1, which isn't a bad thing, but I am a bit concerned that Beat Saber, for example, is still kind of my go-to game in a lot of cases, or Half-Life Alyx, which is a VR title that is not developed by Facebook. I just hope that Oculus can continue to up the ante for real game experiences. I know a lot of Quest experiences are more arcadey, but I really hope we can get more stuff like Blair Witch Project onto Quest 2. And I know that we're getting Resident Evil 4. I have a lot of hope for that game. it is still kind of a bummer. Well, it is super cool. I'm super excited for Resident Evil 4. It's one of my most excited games of the year. It is still kind of a bummer that we're essentially getting a GameCube a GameCube game, so a 15-year-old game being ported over to this Quest 2 instead of, you know, new and fresh and exciting things. I am still extremely excited for Resident Evil 4 though. So that's the first thing. The next thing is multiplayer. I have a couple friends who have Oculus Quest 2s, and we don't, when we want to play multiplayer, for whatever reason, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. Maybe we just want to sit, I don't know. This just seems like something that needs to be figured out, but for whatever reason, we don't like playing multiplayer VR, or we don't find ourselves doing it. And I don't entirely know why. I don't know if it's because of the barrier to entry. I don't know if it's just because if one person doesn't feel like it, then nobody's feeling like it, but it just seems hard to get people to play multiplayer VR. And well, I have found myself enjoying things like Echo Arena. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be that fun to play like distance multiplayer. Multiplayer in the room is extremely fun with games like Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. That still is like one of the best things you can do in VR, and just demoing it, like demoing Richie's Plank experience, some of the best stuff you can do. But I just feel like there's something missing in terms of truly good multiplayer experiences. If you guys know any, please let me know in the comments. I'll totally check them out. And then I guess the last thing in the bad is just I sold my Quest in preparation to buy the Quest 2, and I do find myself remembering the higher quality Quest 1. I mean, the materials were better. It was a better headset, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the ugly. But it had a much higher build quality. You had the cable they gave you on the Quest 1 was long enough to play as an Oculus Link cable. You could just use that cable. It was totally long enough. This cable, it's almost like they designed it so that you would have to buy another cable, their official Link cable, because it's just not long enough to use as a Link cable. That's a bit of a bummer, considering cables don't cost a lot to make them a couple feet longer, and they already had this killer feature. A few other things. I mean, the box itself that the Quest 1 came in, it was basically a case. Like it was magnetic. It was great. I don't know. It feels like some of the niceties of it. It doesn't feel like a premium product because, I mean, they slashed the price. This is insane what you're getting for your money, even though you're giving up a lot of your data. We'll talk about that in the ugly, like I said. Either way, I do still kind of wish, maybe they'll do that this year, that there was like a Quest Pro or something that brought back some of the higher quality niceties of not just the Quest 1, but even the original Oculus Rift. And the dev kits actually were quite nice. So now we want to talk about the ugly, though, in terms of my 1 year later with the Quest 2. The first one I want to talk about is the hardware flubs. And these are honestly like basically deal breakers for me in the future. Like, they're at 2 strikes with me right now. Oculus, this is actually a big deal. So the Pro straps that you can buy, they're $50. If you go on the Oculus subreddit, you will, and you just start scrolling down, you'll see tons of these are breaking. It's unreal how many of these are breaking. It's like one of the worst products I've ever seen in terms of breakage. I do have one. It has not broken. I am extremely careful with it. So I don't know, your mileage may vary on the braking, but it is insane how many of these I've seen break. And you say, well, that's an accessory. Well, the face mask is actually being recalled because of irritating skin. And I actually personally kind of experienced this, and my girlfriend mentioned this, and my friend also mentioned this, who has a Quest, that kind of irritates your face. They were like, is that normal? And I was like, maybe. I guess maybe you have it too tight, but no, they're actually recalling the face pad on the Quest 2 because it is irritating people's face. That's not a good place to be irritated. People can see that. So I don't know. It just seems like they're really cheaping out, and they're really not keeping their, for a company that is so tuned into their software, and honestly really tuned into the hardware on the bigger picture in terms of hardware like your screen, your panel, your lenses, your controllers. It is weird that on the material side and stuff, they seem to just be cheaping out to the absolute extreme, and that is actually kind of a huge bummer. The next thing I want to talk about is PC support from Oculus. it's no surprise or no mystery that the Oculus Rift line is dead. They're not doing anything with that anymore. And I think there was some hope that, well, the Quest 2 is just going to become the default, or the Quest line is just going to become the default headset because it's so successful that they're still going to do their PC projects. They're just going to kind of port them or encourage you to use AirLink and stuff. And well, that does seem, it seems like they're winding down is all I'm going to say. It seems like, we're going to get this year, we're going to get Lone Echo 2, which I'm extremely excited for. That game looks sick. However, it just, that's not enough. Like, you can't just push one PC. Their PC support is basically dead. That is extremely sad and kind of a bummer. Hopefully, PC VR stays very relevant, assuming they keep things like AirLink, they keep things like the Link very open to platforms like Steam. I think that's a very good thing for the future of PC VR. But it is a bummer that the Rift line of PC support seems to be basically on life support, as far as I can tell personally. And the last thing that I want to talk about is obvious, and I talked about it at length in my review. Nothing has changed. It is that you need a Facebook account. This is ridiculous. Your product should not be a paperweight unless you have a functioning Facebook account. That's a personal thought. I mean, this has been argued basically eternally, so I'm not going to get too into the weeds. I just think it's kind of messed up, especially that if you happen to get banned for whatever reason from Facebook, whether you deserved it or not, because there's plenty of instances where anecdotally people did not deserve it or were seemingly arbitrarily banned or unable to activate their quest for whatever reason. It is a huge bummer when you pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars and buy hundreds of dollars of software only to be randomly locked out all of a sudden. That just seems ridiculous to me for a completely unrelated platform, at least as of now, that you just have to be a part of it. And of course, it's for advertising, which I guess is the last thing I will talk about. Advertising is apparently possibly going to be integrated into games. And the first example of the game was going to be a paid game. And that is just absolutely insane and stupid. And there's no way that you can justify that. In a free game, maybe. But paid games, come on, guys. I mean, we go into VR to escape reality. And reality is just